Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this surprise stream, I guess, so to say. It is a Sunday evening, December the 7th. I'm your host, Mr. Boom Boom Kaboom. It's Snoop Nukem in the room. Now, this little stream won't take very long. I don't really have a whole lot to say, but I'm just trying to gauge, um, trying trying to figure out how people feel about a little game night that I'm planning to start up here soon for the community, but a little bit of a different one for a change. Um, over the past little while, lots of people have been certainly, buying VR. And I know some of you in the community can't stand it. I tend to love it. I probably don't play it as often as I should or would like. Just out of the fact that it's just, sometimes getting it out and hooking it up and whatever is, or, the fact that a lot of times the battery life is not that great, certainly unless you're playing the PSVR 2, which is fine because it's hooked into the PlayStation VR. But with the PSVR 2, most people probably know that's obviously it's just games, right? There is no apps, there's no like social hanging kind of stuff with that particular device. Um, so yeah. Cougar Man, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Thanks for stopping by. Like I said, I won't take up everybody's time. I know the girls are live right now, Pink Piggles and Deathbringer. They're doing their little podcast. I don't really want to tread on their toes. They're great ladies, by the way. But I'm just here, like I said, I just want to kind of gauge, hopefully, some feedback. This hat, oddly enough, I got this hat at a Dollarama, and that was probably about 3 years ago. It was weird. They were like all in this Dollarama on a clearance, and that was the weirdest thing because they don't usually have hats, let alone PlayStation hats. And I really like this hat. I think it's pretty cool. Like I think paid like $3 for it or something like that. Okay. So anyway, here's the gist of it all. I'm hoping to start a sort of like a community game night, but I'm just trying to figure out which night. And right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Saturday evenings. I'm really trying to avoid the weekdays because not a lot of people are available on the weekdays. And I'm thinking about the weekends because generally people are around, people are on vacations, or people are off, but just trying to find a time. So I'm thinking like a late evening on Saturdays. Now I'm not going to make it on every single Saturday, but I don't think that's really a bad thing. So, but I'd like to start a VR game night. So, Cougar Man, I don't know about yourself, but I don't know if you have a VR. But if you have a VR, please leave a comment or let me know in the chat if you've got a PlayStation VR 2 or a PC VR, I guess you could say, or a MetaQuest 3 or MetaQuest 3S. I have the MetaQuest 3S and I have the PlayStation VR 2, and I love them both for very different reasons. I would say from a technology standpoint, the PSVR 2 is probably a little bit more advanced than the MetaQuest 3. I'm not necessarily saying the MetaQuest, the MetaQuest 3S, which is the one that I have. The cheaper revised version that still uses the Fresnel lenses. But I'd like to start a VR game night, and I'd really like to get some support on it. We don't have here's the beauty with VR. Now I can't say so much for PSVR 2. Obviously, to play multiplayer games, you need to have a PlayStation Plus subscription of some sorts. But the Meta, on the other hand, is like I said, it's a great one to get. They were on sale for Black Friday. They took some money off, and they're really not all that expensive. I mean, up here in Canada, they're $3.99, $3.79, something like that. And so that would mean they're probably some $300 south of the border in the United States. And all you need is a Facebook account. Now, I know a lot of people got issues with Facebook or social media, but the cool thing is, you don't even have you just create an account. You don't really have to make it doesn't have to be a regular account and everything like that, which all your friends and stuff. Just make an account to play games with, And the beauty with the MetaQuest is a lot of it's free. I mean, to actually play games online, there is no charge. You don't have to pay for an ecosystem or anything. And there's a ton of great games. There's great games. There's small games, big games. There's games that have a lot of motion sensitivities. There's games that don't, and they usually come with a rating. So when you're picking up a game throughout the store, they usually give you what they call it's like a rating system to tell you whether or not the game is it could be a little hard on the stomach. Okay. Once you get used to VR, that's the thing. Once you get acquainted with VR, I'm not talking, it doesn't take like weeks. I'm talking like, a couple hours inside of a VR headset. and it's really not as daunting as most people think, especially with today's VR. It's certainly far more advanced than the PlayStation, than the original PSVR, right? That was decent in itself, but it was certainly obviously, ahead of the game, but behind the game at the same time. Like they were the first ones kind of to really jump into the whole era, or they were certainly one of the first in the console space, at least. I mean, PC VR has been around a little bit longer than that as well. But the MetaQuest 3 is a very affordable option to get into VR. And like I said, it's affordable because the games aren't terribly expensive. Some games get up, like in Canada, $50, stuff like that, 50 something dollars. But there's rarely anything that gets up into the, $70, $80, $90 territory like that. Most of the games aren't overly long. There's lots of multiplayer stuff. There's also social stuff, and there's lots of apps too within the actual what they call the Horizon app itself. When you turn on your headset, you get to go to this this place called Meta Horizon, and you can go to a shit ton of like rooms and different things while you're in there. A lot of social stuff, you know what I mean? So yeah. So just to get back on track, as I said, I don't want this to take very long. I'm just trying to gauge where everybody is, who owns one, who would be interested in doing this. If we could round up, 4, 5, 6 players, I mean, week in and week out, that would be fantastic. Of course, I probably already know half of them that will show up, but it would be nice to see some new faces and people trying it out. I know that's the thing, right? Like VR can be a bit daunting, especially playing by yourself. Some of these multiplayer games are, a bit of a learning curve on their own. So, if you can get some friends to come in and help along the way, I think that's fantastic. So, so I want to do a community game. I'm thinking about Saturdays, trying to narrow down a time, but I'm starting to think like probably 9 Eastern or maybe 10 Eastern, somewhere in that ballpark, a little bit later in the night, because anything that's too early is going to cut into a lot of people's time. And typically, obviously, I don't want to miss a lot of hockey games, stuff like that too during the season. No, I've never gotten full. I've had a couple of times where it has been a little bit sort of, and that was more on the original PSVR, because you're just getting used to it. And I found a lot of the visuals on the PSVR, the original one, were kind of blurry a lot of times, even with all the adjustments. So like the blurriness alone kind of really messed with your head, because you got all these fast moving scenarios sometimes within the game itself, and then everything looks kind of muddy. So it kind of like makes you feel like it's almost like when you got bad eyesight and you're trying to read a book, and then all of a sudden you kind of get a little nauseated or shit like that. So somewhat similar to that, I guess you could say. But for the most part, most of the stuff is good. Even some of the current roller coaster games, and you get on the roller coaster, then sorry. And it's very similar to being on a real life roller coasters. If you've ever gone to an amusement park and you've been on a few rides, you can definitely, you'll definitely know what I'm talking about. Look who's in the chat. Brother Mag is in the house. What is going on, my friend? Good to see you. Speaking of VR, there's a guy I haven't hung out with in VR for a very long time. But I can tell you, the first time that me and Mag hung out, and this I think was on the original, I think it was on the MetaQuest 2, obviously, which back then would have been called, the fuck did they call it before? The Oculus Quest, right? So we played the Oculus Quest, and I remember me and Mag, we went into this, like, we were into this, it wasn't even called Horizon Event Center at the time. It was like this room, and it was like going to a movie theater. You had all these doors and all these little theaters, and you could go in and watch concerts. And I remember, I think it was a concert or something we were watching, but we were like in there watching this band like playing and shit. It was so cool. We're hanging out and talking to random people and having a laugh, and not to mention the mini golf, like Walkabout mini golf. Now there's a good one to start with in VR, because it has a very easy learning curve, and it's not one of those games that's hard on the stomach. It's very, very cool. It's a very popular game in VR, and it's a super chill game. You can play with like 3 other buddies, so like 4 guys can play. Obviously you can play against randoms online as well. But Walkabout Mini Golf is one of those games you should have in your must-have, games list. It is crossplay as well. I think it's crossplay with the PlayStation, the Quest, and of course PC. So that's pretty cool. It gives you lots of options. But yeah, it's super chill hanging out with that. So there's a lot of great stuff to do with VR. It's improving all the time. There's amazing apps, amazing stuff. Like I said, you can. I literally one time watched a wrestling event. I don't even know what it was. I don't think it was WWE, but it's basically like a demonstration of how cool it is, where you could pick a spot in the stadium, basically stand there, and you could go down ringside and you could watch these guys body slamming each other right from the ring, and it was just like being there. So like, even if you never say really use VR for the games, there's a lot of other applications that work really well that are an absolute ton of fun, and it's a great way to hang out with your friends, and it's almost like being there. You know what I mean? Like everything else. So. Yeah, they like sporting events. I tell you, if the companies did it right, and I think in the future, when VR is a little less obtrusive, all right. Well, I'm always saying like, if they get VR down to the point. Remember when 3D movies were big, and it was to the point where you just you went from remember back in the 80s, you had the blue and the red fucking cardboard glasses to watch 3D. And then it's like, a decade ago, we had these, like, basically, they were like sunglasses. You walked in, you put on these pair of these sunglasses, and you watch a movie in 3D. Now, I think when VR gets the technology that's at least that simple to use, where you just put it on your face and it's not heavy, it's not sweaty, it's as simple as putting a hat on your head, then I think VR is going to take off in a way that that is unpredicted. Right now, like I said, there's restrictions because VR headsets can be sweaty, especially if you live in a house or an environment where it's a lot of heat or humidity. And again, it's the weight. PlayStation VR 2 is great because they don't have all that processor weight up front. So when you're wearing a PSVR 2, it's tethered to the console, so therefore it's not heavy. If you've never worn one before, no, the PSVR 2 is extremely comfortable out of the box, and you don't need a whole lot of fancy contraptions. Now, with my MetaQuest 3S, I bought this battery pack head strap, but it's not the official one. It was, I paid like under $50 on Amazon and got it, and it was pretty awesome. And basically, you just take off the original strap that comes with it. You put on this other one, and basically gives you the battery that's in that plus the battery that's in the headset. So when the battery pack dies in the headset, it switches to the battery that's in the MetaQuest. That's pretty cool. So basically, you extend your battery life by over double, so you can easily get a good 4 or 5 hour game session out of it, no problems, right? Which is pretty cool. I highly recommend something like that if you're on the MetaQuest, because it does tend to eat up batteries pretty much. It's better than the old ones, but it does eat up the batteries quite a bit. So again, coming full circle again back to what I'm trying to get at here is I want to start a VR game night. I'm looking at Saturday nights, probably, like I said, 9 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, it's going to be a little bit on the late side of Eastern, but the good news is at least it's on a weekend and it's on a Saturday. So most people tend to have Sundays off, and that would be great. I always have Sundays off. So if the game sessions go a little bit longer into the evening, that's, it's great for most of us. You can, and honestly, VR, I don't think anybody's going to sit there and play like 5 hours of VR straight, right? It's one of those things that doesn't lend itself real well at this time to long gaming sessions. But to get 4 or 5 people hanging out with each other, pounding at a couple of games for an hour, maybe 2 hours or 3 hours, I think that's totally doable, and it would be a ton of fun. So I'm just trying to gauge the interest, see what works best for people, and then try to get this off the ground sooner than later. And I think it'd be a lot of fun. I know you guys know Tim Dog. He has expressed a big time interest in coming out and playing. I know Supersonic Station is a big lover of VR. Hello, Supersonic. He can't wait to play. I'm sure the Mag would definitely be interested, and if the Mag can't make it, I'm sure maybe one of his kids would like to join in for some of the VR shenanigans. I mean, as long as we keep it fairly clean, I guess. There's a lot of fun stuff to do in VR, man. So I highly recommend, if you got any extra money at all, go out and pick one up. Easiest one is out of the box is go get the MetaQuest 3S, because it does the job quite well. It's got the same processing capability as the big brother, the 3, right? And for those people always wondering, if you're not real up on the VR scheme of things, the 3S is the 3 except it has the cheaper lenses. Okay, so they use the same lenses out of the old Oculus Quest 2. So that's the difference, right? It's a lower resolution, lower quality lenses, not as many sort of adjustability options, but outside of that, processors are the same. Those games look great. They play awesome. So, well, that's fair enough, Mag. That's fair enough. And I don't expect everybody, like for me, I can't make, I'm sure myself, I won't be able to make it a regular occasion. But I think if we can get enough people interested, we should always have 4 or 5 people kind of ready to go. And I would be, like I said, I'd be love to have this become a regular thing. All right, brother. We'll catch you soon, man. Peace out. God bless. Hope everything is well. And yeah, when you put that Xbox 360 ornament on your tree, man, fire it up and show me a video, dude. So I got to put my tree up. I was supposed to do it today, but I never got around to it. So, but yeah, take care, man. I'll catch you on the flip side. So anyway, I'd like to get this started, and hopefully I can find another host. So that way, if I can't make a night, there's another host that can carry it over, right? I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think we get a lot of people interested, and trust me, when you get into this VR, if you're not used to it, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, I think you're going to get addicted to it because it's quite good. And like, even if you don't even feel like a game, it's a great place just to hang out with your friends and shoot the breeze. You can play a ton of shit, a ton of stuff, man. There's a lot of user-created content in the VR space, like shooting games and sports games, and you name it. There's so much stuff that you can play in VR, and it's just amazing. I'm not out here just trying to, blow smoke up the ass of VR or whatever like that, but it's a lot of fun, and we're gonna have a ton of fun doing it if we can pull it off. But I need the community's help and support to do it. I know lots of great guys, like I said, with VR. We got Axel1324 owns one, Cerebral Paul owns one. We got, like I said, Sathius owns one. And a lot of guys have the Meta. Some guys just have the PlayStation VR 2, and we can kind of flip back and forth. Like some weeks we can do a PlayStation VR 2 night. Like I said, the thing is with PlayStation VR 2, it only runs games, so right? Like, so it's legitimately, like, it's from a social perspective, it's definitely not the one to go to. You're going to pick a game, you're going to play a game just like you would any other multiplayer game. But, for the social stuff or just kind of hanging out and chilling and playing some of and yes, Walkabout Mini Golf is on the PSVR 2, so you can play it over there as well. But for some of the social stuff, it'd be better to stick mostly to MetaQuest, which I'll probably just do mostly MetaQuest more often than not. But we'll go from there. So anyway, I'm almost at 20 minutes. There's not really much else to say other than I would really love to get a VR game night off the go. And like I said, Sunday nights I know are always bad, especially for you guys in the States, because you're always watching Sunday night football and shit. Technically, for me, too, Saturday nights is not always great because it's usually like it's when hockey's on. But I don't know, like I can't find a time that seems to fit everybody. And again, I don't want to do every single week. I don't want to host every single week. Like I want it to become a regular occurrence so people expect it. But again, I'll hopefully get another host, because I can host a lot of them in the summertime. Because in the summertime, there's no hockey. I'm not doing a whole lot at that time of the night. But in the wintertime, like I said, I won't be around every single Saturday. But it looks like it's probably the best night of all. And it seems to be a night when there's a little bit less podcasting on the go. So I don't know. We'll try it out. All I can say is we can try it, see if it flies. If it doesn't, oh well. But I'm just trying to figure out who's interested and who isn't. But anyway, guys, if you are interested, please, like I said, add me. It's Noof Nukem 76 on Noof Nukem 76 on the PlayStation VR 2. And I think it's just Noof Nukem over on the MetaQuest 3. So I'll see you guys later, and yeah, we'll hook up soon, and I'll have more details when I kind of lock down everything, and we'll go from there. But until then, guys, have yourself a great Sunday night, and I will see you very soon. So game on.